Hey there, I'm Robert Remigio and welcome back to my channel. I hope all of you is in good shape as you go through this lecture video. And if you like the way the details were discussed in this video, please don't forget to share and like this video, leave your impression on the comment section, and hit the bell notifications to get updates on the succeeding lectures that we will be uploading, and click subscribe. And now, get your pen and notes, wear your headphones, and grab a snack if you want, and let's start our video lecture. Ready? And go!
Hello everyone, for this video we will talk about anthropology as a disciplinal perspective of understanding the self. So at the end of our lesson, you will be expected to define anthropology, explain the culture and the mechanism of enculturation, synthesize anthropological perspective on self-awareness and self-reflexive conduct, and show appreciation of one's cultural identity through practice of one's cultural values. By its definition, anthropology is the study of humankind in all times and places. But the focus of our discussion will be on the modern trend of anthropology. For the anthropological perspectives, the self is both biological and cultural entity. In the traditional anthropology, the self is seen as an animal that underwent the process of biological evolution. That man came from ape and has evolved from ape 33 million years ago. While human being is considered to be superior in thinking as compared to other animals, which is a result of course by the development of our brain. Also, we developed culture which has been the cause for our behavioral change. As compared to other animals, man does have a larger brain capacity which makes us more rational. We can stand straight. We can also use words and symbols to communicate. And eventually, we are able to preserve history, knowledge, and culture, as well as being able to invent for survival. Culture is the system of human behavior and thought. It covers all customs, traditions, and capabilities of human as they function in the society. And since culture is learned and our lifestyle is also shaped by it, we must be careful because what we learn can be adaptive or maladaptive. So we need to adopt only those that is still beneficial and relevant and get rid of the cultural practices that will extinguish the identity and goodwill of the community. Well, there are those culture that is transmitted from one generation to the next, that is enculturation, and there are also culture that may came from another culture, like a Filipino being engaged in a religion like Buddhism instead of being a Catholic. That is what you call or acculturation. In the self and person in contemporary anthropology, the nature, which is our biological, and nurture, which is our environment, is considered for the totality of a person. Our genes is necessary component for enculturation. But the question is, how will you raise a child whose mother is a Filipina and whose father is a German? Well, wouldn't it be difficult if that will be the case? In the same way, environmental exposure is also a vital component in the creation of the cultural self. So, in the case of the child may adopt culture of the German father or of that with the culture of the Filipina mother, or both if the child will be exposed to both the father and the mother's culture. Environmental exposure of an individual can start as early as conception since we are being connected by the umbilical cord, connecting us to experiences that is experienced by our mother. And such experience is being solidified after birth. The way then our environment is raising us is helpful in the formation of self awareness, which permits one to assume responsibility for one's own conduct, to learn how to react to others, and to assume a variety of roles. As early as childhood, we may already have a concept of ourselves or awareness of the self. So it is important that during the childhood years, we are being provided with positive values that is culturally correct. And our parents and significant others plays an important role in this since we may adopt whatever we observe towards them. Part of our self-awareness will be our individual name, which gives us our unique traits, personality, identity, and status. And our name may give us the honor and stigma. Like when we hear the name Rodrigo Roa Duterte, his name will be associated with the president. Or when we hear the name Joseph Scott Pemberton, we may remember him as the person associated with the killing of Jennifer Laude. Having our name as part of ourselves makes us continue to establish our own status in the community. That is why we are very much careful that our name will be involved in any illegal act. Much as we wanted to have our own independent and autonomous self, there are still other people in our surroundings that we need to consider. And when the time comes that we are able to recognize what is a acceptable behavior from that is what is not, then we can say that ourselves is already able to see the differences of ourselves from others. And when we are able to accept and respect the cultural identities of people or things or event, then we can say that ourself is already embedded in culture. But there are instances that recognizing different culture may result to cultural degradation or cultural genocide, where a particular culture is lost because of what we call assimilation, where a dominant culture overshadows an inferior culture. Like, for example, if we are into the globalization, we might also sacrifice the native language or of a specific culture. That is why nowadays there is a promotion of the mother tongue in schools so that the native language will not be forgotten by the present generation. To wrap up our discussion with anthropology, this disciplinal perspective sees the self as biologically attuned to respond to the environment, variably self-aware of the mechanisms of the element of culture working within the self, and self-reflexive of the uniqueness and differences of all other selves and everything else. And that ends our video discussion regarding anthropology as one perspective of understanding the self.